Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're zeroing in on something, well, absolutely critical for small and mid-sized book publishers, navigating the often turbulent waters of digital transformation.
Exactly. And we've really immersed ourselves in some insights from Michalis Kalamaras. He's a publishing consultant at Thinking. This was presented at ThinkPub in Readmagine back on May 27th, 2025.
Thinking, right. They bring, what is it, over 15 years of experience?
Yeah, on-the-ground experience working directly with publishers, bookstores, cultural institutions, all focused on this digital shift.
And they've really seen the evolution, haven't they? Being based in Athens, but with that international reach. Consulting, design, tech. It gives them a pretty unique perspective.
It really does. And the core message, I think the non-negotiable takeaway for publishers listening really is this. Digital transformation isn't just some optional add-on anymore.
No.
No, it's fundamental. It's strategic, essential for survival and, growth.
Okay, let's unpack this, because digital transformation in publishing, it's not like a switch flipped yesterday, is it? This has been gradual.
Oh, absolutely. A series of shifts, waves, really. A continuous evolution.
Think back, desktop publishing, that was huge.
Right.
Completely changed production.
Foundational. Then came websites, e-shops.
Yeah.
Establishing that online presence.
And then boom, social media, email marketing.
Yeah, tools for direct engagement. And more recently, you've got ebooks, audiobooks becoming core formats, not just extras.
Plus print on demand adding efficiency.
And now we're looking at generative AI, which is massive. Direct-to-consumer is becoming crucial. Subscription models popping up.
Even how authors reach readers is changing, self-publishing, serialization.
Exactly. Plus personalization, reader recommendations, building online communities, remote work becoming standard. It just keeps morphing. Data publishing, multimodal reading, the list is long.
It's almost overwhelming, isn't it?
Yeah.
How much has changed, how fast. And, John B. Thompson made a really sharp point about this. He said, digitization did not always simplify things. On the contrary, it often made them more complex.
That rings true.
Yeah. The digital world, with its plethora of file types and formats, programming languages, hardware, softwares, and constant upgrades, is in many ways more complicated than the old analog world of print.
It's a fantastic quote because it highlights a real tension.
How so?
Well, you have publishing professionals who are deeply focused on the content, the book itself, the craft. And then you have this whole complex tech world.
And sometimes there's a divide, a feeling that tech isn't really their problem.
Sometimes, yeah. But those lines are definitely blurring. Understanding the digital side is becoming, well, integral to pretty much everything in publishing now.
So for the small and mid-sized publishers listening, the ones maybe running leaner, perhaps without big, dedicated tech teams, what are the specific hurdles they're facing here, the unique challenges?
Well, several things stand out from the material. Often, these places are founder-run, maybe family-run.
Which brings passion, but maybe less structured digital strategy.
Exactly. Management might be more intuitive. Then there are the obvious budget constraints, limited funds for big tech investments, and often a lack of really deep in-house technical expertise.
Right. You can imagine they're also juggling established ways of doing things. Legacy systems, old workflows that are just comfortable.
Deeply ingrained, yeah. And change resistance, that's always a factor. A cultural gap sometimes between traditional publishing and, the digital demands.
Plus the sheer speed of it all. That must be constant pressure.
It really is. You just get your head around one thing and something new pops up. But, and this is crucial, smaller publishers also have some unique strengths in this area.
Okay, that's good to hear. What kind of advantages are we talking about?
Their size, paradoxically, can be a huge asset. They're often way more agile.
More nimble.
Yeah, and personally invested in their mission. That usually translates to more flexibility, less bureaucracy compared to the big guys.
Makes sense.
And we're seeing a bit of a generational shift in leadership, too. Younger leaders often come in more digitally native, let's say, which can really speed things up.
Smaller ships turning faster. Any other edges they might have?
Definitely. There's a real opportunity for collaboration. Smaller publishers could potentially band together, share resources, knowledge, maybe even infrastructure.
Interesting idea.
They can also look at open source digital tools, which can be much more affordable. And maybe most importantly, many smaller presses have this incredibly strong bond with their readers.
A loyal community.
Exactly. A community they can engage with directly online.
It almost feels like the digital shift in some ways has actually leveled the playing field a bit. Those old barriers to entry maybe not quite so high anymore.
That's a really key point. While, yes, huge digital projects can require big budgets and scale, digital tools have also lowered some traditional barriers,
Yeah.
like needing massive distribution networks or enormous marketing budgets just to get noticed. Those aren't the only ways to succeed now.
That's quite powerful, isn't it? It flips the script from just challenges to seeing real opportunities.
And it's worth adding, for publishers in smaller language markets, the dynamic can be slightly different.
How so?
Digital waves might hit a bit slower. Big tech might not prioritize those languages immediately, which kind of ironically gives local players a bit more breathing room to adapt.
And maybe a more supportive local framework.
Potentially, yeah. Regulatory, financial, cultural. It can create a different environment.
So a complex picture depending on where you are.
Okay.
Now let's get down to brass tacks. Strategy. What really drives a publishing house, big or small, to actually do this digital transformation stuff?
Well, the drivers usually fall into three buckets according to the source material: strategy itself, technology, and necessity.
Okay, explain those.
Strategy is about deliberate choice, planning for the future you want. Technology can be a driver just because of what's possible, adapting to new platforms. But often, the biggest push comes from necessity.
External pressures forcing their hand?
Exactly. Things you just can't ignore.
Can you give some examples of those pressures? What kind of things are we talking about?
Sure. COVID-19 was obviously a massive one. Forced remote work, digital sales overnight for many.
A huge accelerator.
Definitely. But there are ongoing things, too. Sustainability concerns leading to regulations like the EU Deforestation Act, accessibility requirements like the EU Accessibility Act.
Practical things too, like costs.
Absolutely. The fluctuating cost of paper, supply chain issues we've seen, and just the constant disruption and influence from big tech platforms.
Right, so it's not always a choice. Sometimes it's adapt or, well, struggle. Okay, so a publisher decides, right, we need to do this. What are the essential components they need to focus on? The building blocks.
The material breaks it down into 5 key areas: strategy, people, roadmap, technology, and partners.
Okay, let's start with strategy. You mentioned it as a driver, but it's also a core component of how you do it.
Yes, absolutely vital. Any digital project, any tool you adopt, it has to align directly with your main business goals.
So no tech for tech's sake.
Precisely. It's about picking the right means for the right ends, reflecting your publishing house's unique profile, your needs, not just blindly following the latest trend.
Can you give some examples? How might that look for different publishers?
Sure. Maybe you publish a lot of business books. Strategically, exploring audiobooks makes sense, right? People listen on commutes.
Okay.
Or say you're a small literary press, struggling to get shelf space. Upgrading your own eShop, focusing on direct sales and digital marketing, that's a strategic move.
What about translation or backlist?
Right. Maybe you want to expand internationally. Using AI for initial translation drafts could be strategic. Or if your ebook sales are lagging, the strategy isn't just make more ebooks. It's understanding why they're low discoverability, price, and using digital tools to fix that specific problem.
That makes perfect sense. Tailored, goal-driven. Okay, component 2, people. This sounds crucial. It's not just about hiring an IT person, is it?
Oh, not at all. This is really about change management. Digital transformation shakes things up.
So you need buy-in.
Absolutely. From the top down, leadership has to be on board. But just as important is listening to your whole team, their ideas, their worries, their feedback.
And supporting them through the change.
Yes. Investing in upskilling, training, giving people space to experiment, and maybe bringing in new people with skills you lack. Skills that complement the team.
So empowering existing staff, fostering learning, adding expertise. What else falls under people?
Looking hard at your current processes and workflows, are they fit for digital? Often, you need to revisit how things get done.
Letting go of old analog ways.
Sometimes, yes. And finding internal champions helps immensely. People who are excited about this stuff, who can advocate for it.
Get the team involved early?
Early and often. Explain the why. Provide context, build understanding, reduce that resistance. Ultimately, you want to normalize experimentation, make it okay to try things, even if they don't work out perfectly. Foster a digital culture.
Sounds like mindset is as important as skill set.
Yeah.
Okay, third component, the roadmap. How does a smaller publisher, maybe with tight resources, approach planning this out?
The advice is basically, think big, but start small.
Meaning?
Aim for transformation across the board eventually, but begin with manageable pilot projects, things with low barriers to experimentation.
Test the waters.
Exactly. Implement in phases, see what works, then scale it up. But before you jump into solutions, do an audit. Where are the real pain points? Where are the inefficiencies that digital could actually help with?
So find the problems first, then look for digital solutions. What next?
Based on your strategic goals, maybe it's sales growth, maybe operational efficiency, you pick some focus areas. Prioritize the changes that give you the biggest bang for your buck.
The highest ROI.
Right. And ROI isn't always just money, remember? Could be saving time, better audience connection. Set realistic expectations. No magic wands here. Start with those pilot projects, learn, adjust.
And track progress.
Absolutely. Use key performance indicators, KPIs, track things like ebook sales, website traffic, social media reach, whatever makes sense for that project. Measure your progress. Use the data to make smarter decisions moving forward.
A very pragmatic step-by-step approach. Okay, number 4, technology itself. This is the bit that can feel overwhelming. How do smaller publishers navigate this huge, fast-changing tech landscape?
The key is being informed, but also discerning. You don't need to be a coder, but having a basic grasp of the tech helps you evaluate platforms and vendors effectively.
Makes sense.
And you'll face that buy versus build dilemma. When do you use off-the-shelf software? When might you need something custom?
And with limited budgets, what else is crucial when choosing tech?
You definitely want to aim for future-proof solutions if you can, things that won't be obsolete next year.
Adaptable tech.
Exactly. Sticking to international open standards is usually smart, avoids getting locked into one vendor system. Be cautious about overinvesting in really new, unproven tech.
Shiny object syndrome.
Right. Focus on scalable solutions that can grow with you. Explore open source options, often more cost-effective. And sometimes, simpler, cheaper tools are perfectly fine for what you need right now.
Don't overcomplicate it.
And, critically, accessibility. Build it in from the start. Make sure your digital content works for everyone. It's not an add-on.
Absolutely essential. Okay, 5th and final component, partners. Publishers already work with partners, authors, printers, distributors. How does this apply to digital?
The thinking here is leverage partnerships strategically. Build long-term cooperation.
So don't try to do everything digital in-house.
Not necessarily. Building all that capability can be slow, expensive, and requires expertise you might not have. Strategic partnerships can give you immediate access to specialized skills and tech.
Faster progress,
Yeah.
staying current.
Exactly. Find partners who understand publishing, who are willing to really collaborate with your team, not just sell you a product. This could be freelancers for specific jobs or specialized agencies.
And look for support.
Yeah, definitely look into collaborations with other publishers facing similar issues. Explore funding opportunities from industry bodies, cultural organizations, government grants. Don't feel you have to go it alone.
Right? Leverage that ecosystem. Now, the presentation dove into some specific case examples. Let's touch on those. First, the publisher's eShop. Why is that highlighted as such a good move, a no-brainer even for smaller publishers?
Well, for smaller outfits, it offers this powerful mix. Visibility, a direct revenue stream cutting out intermediaries, and crucially, that direct line to readers. Building community.
Things you don't get as easily elsewhere.
Right. Physical bookstores can only stock so much. Your own shop, your whole list is there. And online retailer pages can be pretty generic, can't they? Your own site lets you control the brand experience, really tailor it.
Makes total sense. More control, direct connection. But just having a shop isn't enough, right? What makes it work?
No, you need a plan. A proper, targeted digital marketing strategy to actually bring people there. You need rich metadata that's all the info about the book, ISBN, keywords, descriptions, vital for discovery online.
Good content, too.
Yeah, engaging content around the books, author Q&As, excerpts, that kind of thing. And it needs ownership. Someone on your team needs to run the eShop. It's not just an IT task. Training is key.
And scalable tech.
Definitely. The platform needs to handle growth, more books, more traffic, maybe more sophisticated marketing later on.
Okay, clear advice on eShops. Second example, ebook production. What's the core message there for smaller publishers?
It's basically timely, high-quality, scalable ebook production isn't a nice-to-have anymore. It's fundamental for reaching readers, for revenue, for efficiency.
So treat it seriously.
Yes, the advice is move towards digitizing your whole catalog, not just cherry-picking. And don't tack ebook production on at the end. Integrate it right into your workflow from the start.
Make it part of the process for every book.
Ideally, yes. Standardize your workflows for consistency. Integrate print and digital production where you can use the digital features often built into your layout software, like proper tagging.
Use the tools you already have better.
Exactly. Explore AI and automation for parts of the conversion, maybe, but always focus on quality control. Decide if in-house or outsourced conversion makes sense for your titles.
And the details matter.
Hugely. Rigorous QC, checking formatting, checking content, making sure you have platform-specific versions if needed with accurate metadata. And again, accessibility is paramount alt text for images. Proper structure.
Got it. Final case. AI in publishing. This is the big, maybe scary topic right now.
Yeah.
What's the take for smaller publishers?
The key message is AI is here, its impact is broad, and it actually offers real leverage, especially for smaller players who can use it to augment limited resources. So engaging with it should be a priority.
Don't stick your head in the sand.
Pretty much. The recommendation is really that everyone on the team, not just tech people, should get some time to learn about AI, experiment with tools relevant to their job.
What kind of tools?
Could be basic chatbots, could be specialized tools for transcription, translation summaries, metadata suggestions. New roles focused on AI will likely emerge too.
So how should a publisher actually start? Where do you begin with AI?
Encourage that exploration. Let people try things. Identify specific workflow areas where AI might help most. Maybe efficiency gains? Maybe generating marketing copy ideas?
Start small again.
Yes, a pilot project. Maybe something not mission critical at first, just to test things out. Appoint an internal AI champion, someone to lead the charge and share what they learn.
And set some ground rules.
Definitely. Develop clear policies. How will you use it ethically, effectively, and talk to everyone involved? Authors, translators, designers. How might this affect them? Keep the conversation open.
A very measured, inclusive approach. Okay, as we start to wrap this up, let's distill it. What are the absolute key takeaways for small and mid-sized publishers from all this?
Okay, 5 main things really stood out. 1, strategize. Always tie digital back to your core business goals. Prioritize. You can't do it all at once. Focus your energy where it counts most.
3,
Customize. There's no magic formula. Tailor your approach to your specific situation. Reiterate, this isn't a one-off project. It's ongoing. Learn, adapt, improve constantly.
and the last one.
Use. Be a user yourself. Play with the tools. Understand the platforms from the inside.
Strategize, prioritize, customize, reiterate, use. Great summary. And if someone's listening right now thinking, okay, where do I start tomorrow? What are those first concrete steps?
The material suggested 3 things. First, do an honest audit. Where are you really at digitally? Your tech, your skills, your workflows.
Tag it.
Talk to your team. Openly discuss the gaps, where the tech challenges, where the skills needed.
And third,
Based on that audit and those talks, identify one meaningful, achievable pilot project, something you can actually tackle to get started, learn from, and build some momentum.
take stock. Understand the gaps. Take one focused step. Sounds like solid advice. This has been, well, incredibly insightful, a real deep dive into the challenges and opportunities here.
It really has. And just to remind everyone, this discussion was all grounded in that material from Michalis Kalamaras of Thinking, from his presentation and slides.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, for you listening, as you process all this, maybe ask yourself a few questions. How does your own experience, your successes, your frustrations with digital transformation compare to what we've discussed?
Yeah, and what are your priorities right now in this digital space? If you were starting a digital project tomorrow, what would be step 1 for your publishing house?
Really think about those strategic elements, the people side, the technology choices we talked about.
And maybe one final thought to leave you with. Looking ahead, considering how fast everything keeps changing, what unexpected opportunities or maybe unforeseen challenges might small and mid-sized publishers face in the next few years? And how can you start preparing now for whatever that might be?